Hey, it's another week, another recipe, and today we are headed back to the 1940s with a mock fried fish recipe that is one of the most surprising recipes I have ever made. Come join me for this. Hey everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Courtney Morris and I cook history's forgotten recipes out of random cookbooks I find and sometimes websites, and today we've got a mock recipe which I'm kind of excited to try, and I'll tell you why in just a little bit. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoy the video enough to join our little community we've got here. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and the little like button if you like it. And if you're coming back for more, I always appreciate seeing you here in the comments and knowing that you guys are enjoying the recipes with me. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so we are back in World War II today with a mock fish cake recipe, and I shouldn't say cake, it's more like a fish fillet kind of a thing. And the reason this piqued my interest is because part of the premise of this channel is being able to know that if stuff hits the fan and I can't get a whole lot of food or things that I'm used to, at least I can feed my family on things that are just not beans and rice every single day. Now don't get me wrong, I do love me good beans and rice. But when you get into the mock world of making things that aren't what they're really supposed to be, it either can be really good or really terrible. So when I saw this recipe for mock fish, of course, something in my brain said, oh, let's try that one. So we're gonna try it, and I'm gonna make a mock fish fillet sandwich because that's just what we do in America. We have fish fillet sandwiches, and this one's a tribute to my mother here who loves them from McDonald's, or at least used to. I don't know if you still do, Mom. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know in England this would have been mock fish and chips or whatnot, but we're gonna fry some fish flavored rice. Let's go. All right, so this is a 6-ingredient recipe, starting with bring half a pint of milk to the boil, shower in 2 ounces of ground rice, and a teaspoonful of chopped onion. Okay, so I've got that on high, it's gonna boil soon, and my next ingredient is 2 ounces of ground rice. Now it doesn't say rice flour, but it does say ground rice, which to me makes me think of a coarser grind, because if you think of like a fish fillet patty that you would get at McDonald's or something, it's not just a fish paste. It has some substance to it, and I think that's what they're trying to go for, especially if we're making something that we're supposed to be sort of calling fish, but it's not fish. I'm assuming there's got to be a good texture for it. So I'm going to use my Vitamix to grind this up because it does have the carafe that does the wheat grinding and the grain grinding. I also have a manual one that just rubs it between 2 stones, and I also have one attached to my KitchenAid. This one's just more convenient at the moment for a small amount. Honestly, you could probably use a blender since you're not trying to make it into flour, but I think any coarse grind probably would work. So I'll show you a close-up. You are being noisy. Why are you so noisy? Must be water on the bottom. We good? Quiet now? Okay, anyways, I will show you the consistency that I got that I'm gonna hope works. So I don't know if you can see that real well, but it now looks more like salt crystals. Now my milk, I want it to boil, but I mean, you don't want to burn it because milk will scald the bottom. So I turned my heat down. It is boiling still, but not like hot. And oh, I need to put in a teaspoonful of chopped onion that I just had over there. Oh, and a piece of margarine the size of a walnut. Now I don't have margarine. Mine kind of died in the freezer. We had a freezer apocalypse the other day and it did not make it. So I am pretending that I have a butter ration, and I'm using about 2 tablespoons. It says a walnut size, but I think it's about the same size. I could mold it into a small walnut, I think. And so we're gonna just make this into a nice paste. Here comes a fun part as well. Now, you're supposed to have anchovy paste or essence, which I don't. I never do. I don't ever use it. And basically what you're looking for is the saltiness of the fish to mimic that salt. Not necessarily a huge fish flavor, but it does come with it. You can substitute miso paste, soy sauce, and I have fish sauce. It's just from the Thai place. Just a little bit in there. Nothing huge. It's just to mimic that flavor. I will not say what I'm thinking because this is a family channel. So it says let this simmer for gently for 20 minutes, and I'm not sure how we're simmering this because, I mean, I can't simmer that without burning it. I'm already creating a coating on the bottom. So now I need to stir in a well-beaten egg, which in this case, you can use a regular egg or egg powder. And I always try to use my egg powder in these recipes because I'm trying to still get familiar with it. So it says 1 egg, fresh or powdered. So this would be 1 tablespoon of egg powder to 2 tablespoons of water. So we're gonna mix that in. I'm assuming that's, I mean, rice is glutinous enough and binding, so I'm assuming that just kind of helps. Mix that together. It actually smells like a fish cake. Like it literally, it smells like a crab cake, honestly. Nothing like a good old fish porridge, but although this 20 minutes, this is bothering me. It's because, oh, it's still grainy. Okay, I'm gonna put this back on low, and I'm gonna add a little bit of milk. But this is probably why you don't want a rice powder, because it would just, but there are still visible chunks, so it's not terrible, but just for the sake of not burning things. I just kept this on the heat for a little bit. I added a tiny bit of milk, as you saw, to just not burn it. And, you know, we're back to, you know, it reminds me of the lunchroom. So next step is to put it on a flat dish. So I got ye old pizza pan, because it was about the flattest thing I could find at the moment. And it says to spread it out about a 1/2 inch thick. I cannot get over how much this smells like a crab cake. Like it smells really good. Honestly, the rice is not grossing me out. And I think it's because I eat enough Japanese food to where rice is in everything. And so it doesn't bother me that much. So I think it's because it's familiar to me. Other people, it might be like, oh, why would you do that? So we're gonna cool this off and then we're gonna fry it so we can make our fillet of fish patty. And I might stick it in my big freezer because just to speed up the process. And then I will be back. Okay, so I have got my fish cake out and it is nice and cool and squishy. It is quite congealed. Now I'm going to batter it and fry it. So the original recipe says to brush with milk, roll it in breadcrumbs and fry until golden brown, which would have worked then because breadcrumbs did exist and so did milk. However, there's a few different ways to fry and different batters, and honestly, I am a seafood in tempura kind of person rather than breadcrumbs unless it's panko, but I feel like that's just a very Japanese thing to do. I just whipped up a little batch of tempura batter. I'll leave the recipe below if you want it. And I whipped up a little bit of homemade tartar sauce, which is one of the easiest condiments you can make. It is so simple. So I know fish fillet sandwiches and fish patties you get usually are square, but I have a slider bun that I made my 3-year-old the other day. I made a bunch of them for lunches, and I'm just gonna make it fit. So I'm just gonna use my, ye old cookie cutter of a mason jar lid and see what I can do here. I need a spatula. I know I say this with every recipe I do, but I have high hopes for this. I get excited about these things because of the potential that it could be, even though it's rice and not actually fish. But when all your fishermen are drafted to war, I feel like I have to be careful with this, otherwise it's gonna just fall apart. Because everything's already cooked, you just need to brown your tempura. Ooh, batter. That slid. Oh, that looks marvelous though. It's nice and brown on the top and sizzling at the bottom. This is kind of exciting. All right, we are golden brown. Now, trick with frying, don't ever lay it on a napkin or a plate or anything like that, because you will let it sit in its oil and it'll get soggy. Get a cooling rack. Put it over a cookie sheet and let it drip its oil into the cookie sheet. That way, it won't just sit in its puddle of oil and get soggy like anything. I'm talking French fries, fried chicken, fried fish, fried rice, but not, I guess it is fried rice. Okay, I'm cleaned up a little bit. This has had time to cool off, but it's still warm. And I don't know if you can hear that. That's how crunchy and flaky this is, and I'm super here for it. So, get my bun, tartar sauce on. This one is, I think, the first one that I'm actually excited about. So this is gonna be a really big disappointment if this doesn't work, but all right, here goes nothing. Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Like, in a weird way. And I've got a couple critiques, but bear with me here. I'm going to take one more bite here. This is, what in the hell? Okay. My brain is slowly exploding. That tastes almost exactly like a fillet of fish sandwich. Pros first. We'll do pros, cons. Pros first. That tastes exactly like a fillet of fish. Like, it's crunchy on the outside, flaky on the inside. I mean, flaky is as much as you can flake rice. The flavor of everything together is amazing, just even by itself. I'm gonna try it by itself. Okay, if you didn't tell me that this was rice, I would have thought this was a very soft fish. Obviously, I give props to the tempura batter. I honestly think that makes or breaks some things like this, especially when you're mocking something that you kind of want it as normal as you possibly can. It's so good. So, cons. And I think this has to do with my own technique here of the rice. Now, it is soft. It would resemble a very soft fish, if not maybe an overcooked one. But I think that is because I ground it too much. Like, the chunks that I had left that weren't pulverized into flour, it turned out a little more pasty than I prefer. Now, you might like it like that. That's personal preference, I think. But if you're mocking fish and you want those like chunks, you know how you can take a fork and it just kind of flakes off, even in a processed patty. I almost would do less processing in my blender than I did. Lovely, lovely flavor. This is carbo loading at its finest. I've got a rice sandwich. I'm keeping this. This is fantastic. Not that I need all of these carbs all at once all of the time. Well, if you made it this far, thank you so much for joining me for this recipe. I hope you enjoyed the experiment, and I really honestly hope you try it. It is still blowing my mind a little bit. I can't wrap my head around it quite yet. Anyways, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and join our little growing community. I would love to hear from you in the comments, and also please hit the little like button if you liked this video. And also for those of you who may be interested in the near future, coming soon, we're going to start a series of YouTube shorts and Instagram reels of basic cooking skills that you would have needed to know about to be able to produce these old-fashioned recipes and that transpose all the way into modern day cooking. So hopefully I've got that coming up in the next couple weeks. I hope you look forward to that. I hope you look forward to next Monday with another historical recipe. And if you need something else to watch after this video, click on this one right here. It was a doozy for frying, and it was one of those experiments that kind of sucked, but it was fun. All right, I'll see you next week. Bye.